Thank you, Pro-Chancellor of the Symbiosis International University, Dr. Vidya Yeravdekar, also Chair of FICCI's Higher Education Committee, Dr. Rupa Manjari Ghosh, Co-Chair of the FICCI Higher Education Committee and Vice-Chancellor of the Shiv Nadar University, all the distinguished academicians, other delegates from various countries who have joined this very important FICCI Higher Education Summit, physically, virtually, in different forms. Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, the FICCI Higher Education Summit has truly evolved into a thought leadership forum. And I'm delighted that you have brought together key stakeholders, both at the national and the international level, with I'm told, a registration of over 3,000 delegates to deliberate and discuss and engage on subjects which are very, very crucial and very important to India's future, to the future of our young boys and girls, and to the way we develop both the socio-economic and the physical well-being of our country. Well, once upon a time, India was called the Gurukul of the world, what with Nalanda University and Takshashila and all those great centers of learning. Though I am not one of those who believes that we should just live in that old age glory, but I certainly believe that a lot of lessons have to be learned from history and a lot of reflection has to go in on what went wrong, why did we reach a situation where in every ranking, whether it's the ranking PISA rankings at the school level education or even at international fora, other than a few institutions like the IITs or IIMs and a few in the private sector, we are not recognized globally as a center of learning from where children from good and important and developed countries would also desire to come and gain quality education. While we do have a number of international students coming to India, I think the defining feature will be when a student from Europe or a student from the United States decides that he will get a better and more grounded education in India at a value which is really both affordable and worth every rupee that he spends, every dollar that he spends, and would choose to come to an Indian university as against one of the so-called Ivy Leagues or among the universities who are currently ranked amongst the best universities in the world. In India, education has, of course, over the years developed significantly. We have a right to education policy. We have had several efforts to bring about new forms of education or a new thrust to the quality of education. But I think the latest national education policy is truly going to be the defining feature of the future of education in India. This is one policy that was long awaited. Several governments and ministers have tried to bring out a policy but could never find consensus. But Prime Minister Modi's direction to have a very inclusive consultation process which would take all stakeholders on board, spread over several months and possibly more than a year or 2 years, with engagement with academicians, with universities, with stakeholders like even parents, state governments, at every level. And I am given to understand there were over 100,000 suggestions that came in during the consultation process. Almost every one of them was responded to. A large amount of engagement with chancellors and leaders of the education field was undertaken, and it's probably a matter of record and history both that we have an education policy that's been widely accepted throughout the country with very little murmur, very little dissent. I think that itself is a great starting point to see how this new education policy will help India grow and prosper. In fact, in one sense, education is a great equalizer. It can empower everyone for a better future. And therefore, the role of teachers, the role of our schools and colleges and universities can never be undermined. I still believe that at every point of life and at every decision-making situation, something that was probably taught to me at school or college, some personal experience that I may have gone through in my education days holds me in good stead when I have to take a decision. And it could be a simple thing like an admonishment by a teacher, or a simple thing like a pardon by a teacher, which helps us take decisions today. I mean, I can lose my head over somebody making a mistake and then just look back and remember what I had gone through in a similar situation in school or college. And it really helps you, it grounds your decision making and helps you take the right decision at the right time. Now, I remember with great deal of fondness a visit to my school 4 or 5 years ago, where I almost got emotional remembering all those experiences, all those trials and tribulations that we go through school, the discomforting moments that you have experienced, the friendships that you have created, the teachers you remember who have literally used the whip on us, not used anymore, unfortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. But remember the slap that one Father Gatti had given me. He was an Italian. My God, he must have been about 200 kilos, if not more. And one slap of his you could never forget in a lifetime. And so many such instances, the naughty elements of you, the pardon that you often receive for something you've done wrong and which actually became truly an experience of a lifetime that you will never forget. All of those things have a significant impact on each one of our lives. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the role that you are playing in our lives, the contribution that you are doing to nation building, to preparing a nation to deal with the future, to engage with the world, preparing the nation to eliminate poverty, to eliminate and all the despair and deprivation that we see across the country is actually praiseworthy. And I bow my head and compliment each one of you engaged in the field of education for the wonderful work and contribution that you are doing for the country. As the Prime Minister once said, and in a way, it's like a teacher talking. And I quote, "I know it will be difficult, but it is doable. And I am confident it will be done." That confidence that each one of you has, that you can build a better child out of the student you take under your care, that is that confidence that has held this country in good stead, which will prepare us for the future. And I have no doubt in my mind that the focus that the new education policy has given to research, to innovation, to entrepreneurship, to skill development, to knowledge, that urge, that desire to expand education to knowledge rather than just an academic report card. I think this new thrust, this new thinking that the new education policy has brought out will truly, and I do hope from the bottom of my heart, make India the knowledge capital of the world. We can move from the mark sheet driven education to a learning driven education if we implement this new education policy in letter and spirit. It's time that we moved out from our guides, from our question answers that we used to be learning in school, preparing ourselves to top a university or an exam, looking at the earlier question papers. I remember solving question papers of the past used to be the best way to literally crack the exam. Of course, doesn't speak very highly about our system that we have to even repeat questions 4 or 5 years into every exam. And we can't think of innovative questions even in a subject like mathematics or physics. And therefore, I think this new policy will, I hope, transform the way we educate our children, will hopefully have all of us parents not need to send children abroad for high quality education, but in competition will feel proud that every child in the country is entitled to and is getting equal quality, high quality education. Every child in this country is being prepared for the future. He is being prepared to be a civilized citizen, contributing to a better tomorrow for this country. I do hope in higher education also we bring out more focus, more thrust on vocational education. We focus on preparing our children to be truly experts in their chosen field, but the field that they choose, not what their parents choose or not what they flow into. And I think there can be no wake-up call for all of us than the beautiful movie Three Idiots, which to my mind is like a story which tells the story of millions of children in this country. I myself, after my 10th standard, in the natural course, when I completed my school, you get a certain mark, so you go into the science stream, start attending Agarwal classes at Dadar in Mumbai to prepare for the IIT entrance examination. You have Professor Karkhanes, if I remember correctly, teaching you mathematics. I hope he's there. He was a great teacher. You are learning to ensure that you get a place in Mumbai IIT or Delhi IIT. And then suddenly, when I was in 11th standard pursuing science at Jai Hind College, in the middle of the term, I realized that was not my calling in life. That is not what I wanted to do. I was always a numbers guy. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be in business. And I remember how difficult it was to change midstream in 11th standard from science to commerce, to get admission in a commerce college, to then start all over again to revisit your calling in life. But I do believe I'm grateful to God that I got that opportunity, that I could move out into 12th. Those days it was permitted. I don't know what the current situation is, but this new education policy actually allows people to be more creative in their chosen field of education. Just like you hear about it, about Harvard and MIT and all of these institutions or high quality centers of excellence, where a person is allowed to choose and decide what he wants to do. And from that, to develop his own abilities to be an expert in different fields. So I have a son who studied economics, but also did political science and dance classes and film studies and whatnot in the course of his undergraduate studies. I have a daughter who studied history as a major, but is currently consulting on finance. So that kind of liberal education, I do believe, is something that India should engage with in a much bigger way. And if we were to do that, I have no doubt in my mind, our educational institutes and universities focusing on personality development, teaching responsibility and moral sciences to our students, preparing them to become better citizens of the country, inculcating a spirit of nationalism and country first in our children, ensuring that our children get back to the habit of reading books and not be dependent totally on your laptops and computers and iPhones. I think it's truly an opportunity that we have all got before us to redefine the way we educate our children. I'm sure your summit will deliberate on some of these subjects. We hope to receive a report with greater insights and ideas at the end of your summit to help us truly make India an economic superpower house, but also the country which will lead sustainability in the world, a country that will show the world what social harmony is across the length and breadth of the country, a country that will prepare our children to think innovatively, to think out of the box, to be a part of this growth story, always keeping in mind an empathy, a concern for the less privileged sections of society, a concern that we do better for those sections of society who have been at the margins, who have not received the kind of privileges that I think most of the people on this call would have. Citizens, caring citizens, who believe that India and 1.35 billion Indians can only grow together. And every one of those 1.3 billion Indians taking one step forward will transform this country with a billion plus steps going forward every single moment of our life, of our existence. I think knowledge is an amazing treasure. If shared, it grows. If unused, it shrinks. And I believe every single moment of our life is about learning, is about increasing our knowledge, and along with that, sharing our knowledge with society, with our colleagues, with our family. Together, this country can do wonders. Let's all of us work in that spirit, and with that spirit go to the world. And when the whole world becomes one, we can transform the very human existence that is today under severe threat of several dimensions. Let us work together in that spirit of oneness. Let us all look to prepare a roadmap for a bright future for 6 billion, 7 billion citizens of this world. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.